Lesbians, queer women, we all know what happens and how it feels when we go through heartbreak, when the person we love walks away. But today, we're going to be talking about what happens when the person you love literally dies and your whole life crumbles into a spiritual awakening. We're going there. Can I introduce you to a token ally friend in this episode? Because 3 years ago, I got this random DM. It was this random woman, Lauren, and she said, "You're going to give women the codes to wealth." Now, I thought she was cold selling me in my DMs, and there's nothing more annoying when someone pops into your DMs that you don't know, you don't follow, you don't engage in, and they're trying to talk to you, and it's just weird. I thought she was nuts. She is such an intuitive, gifted person that none of this was nuts. God told her to reach out to me. And it turns out in the next few years, I ended up building social media and business coaching that has changed lives. And women around the world, particularly lesbians, have been in my program. And I'm no longer doing that. I only offer coaching like privately one-on-one when it comes to business coaching. But now I'm helping match successful lesbians around the world. So it's really interesting that she came to me with this message and was like, "You're going to give women these codes." And I ended up going into that work. Had no intention of going into that work. She's truly intuitive. You're going to love hearing the good energy in this episode. If you're listening to this and you're like, "I just need some good energy in my life," this is the episode for you. A little bit about Lauren. She's been a business coaching client of mine. Back in 2016, Lauren's first love passed away, leaving her completely heartbroken and believing she would never, ever find love again. And through spiritual awakening and the messy dating adventures that followed, she discovered what true love begins with: yourself. The stories we're about to share are extremely messy. They involve drugs, dating for money, men cheating on their wives, body dysmorphia. But hearing this all will make you feel less alone. However, there's your trigger warning. As Lauren healed, she realized that self-love, inner alignment, these are the foundations for deep, meaningful connections. Now, as a healer, author, spiritual guide, she helps others clear emotional blocks, awaken their intuition, and cultivate the love they seek starting within. She's spiritual. She's bougie. She's Sex in the City meets Miami City. Welcome to the show, my dear friend, Lauren Courtney. So let's start. Ground us, Lauren. Ground us.
All right, let's take a deep breath in, arriving here and now in this present moment. And exhale, knowing, trusting that this conversation is guided by our higher power for our highest good, both individually and collectively, for all of the souls that tune in to listen. Knowing and trusting that all of the wisdom that we are meant to share here today will be received in its highest good by all ready to receive it, whether it's when they listen the first time or if it's later down the line, they have that aha moment. Simply trusting that this conversation will be perfect in the ways that it's meant to. Will be messy, will be raw, will be vulnerable, and will be so real and authentic to who we both are. Let's take another deep breath in and release.
Thank you. I am so excited because this doesn't feel like a regular podcast, like interview, because you're my friend and we've developed this sisterhood, I should say, over the past few years. So thank you for spending time with me today and everybody else who's listening.
Thank you for having me. I was telling a girlfriend that I was recording with you today, and she was the one who initially sent me a video of you way back in the pandemic. And we were like just so obsessed with watching your content because it was so fun and playful. And, we were both like, wow, it's so amazing how far we've all come since then. And she doesn't even know you, which is hilarious. And I've gotten to know you and watch your journey and be a part of
Oh,
parts of your journey. And oh God, it's
what's
just,
her name?
her name's Danielle.
Danielle, hi. Thank you for bringing us together. I'm so grateful. So crazy. So the vibe today for me was just like I'm just feeling really good. Like I woke up and I was like, this is gonna be a great day. We're gonna have such a good talk, and I know this episode's gonna be so loved and like one of those that people go back to for years. So I'm just happy. Before we dive in, so our listeners have context about you. What's your sign?
I am a Cancer and I'm on the cusp. So I'm a Cancer, Leo rising, hence the
The
main,
hair.
and a Capricorn moon, which is thankfully what keeps me grounded and able to do the work that I do in this world.
Cancer makes so much sense. I have been like in and out of a like getting to know you phase with the cancer, and this makes so much sense knowing that about you.
We, we have the biggest hearts. I think cancers are the mother of the zodiac. And that like it's interesting because Cancer is the mother, Leo is the child, and Capricorn is the father. And of course, I am all three of those.
You're the whole family. Oh my God. But I must say, cancers, you guys have sex on a different level. Like, I wasn't ready for it.
I mean,
Is it true for like, is that like a thing that people know? Or is it,
I think like for me, Cancer is very like lady in the street, freak in the sheet vibes. But I will say it's like you have to be comfortable with someone and feel
yes.
really emotionally secure. Like I was intimate with someone a few months ago and it was still new and we didn't
Yeah.
have boundaries. And I was like, no, no, no. I'm not, I can't, I don't feel safe yet to go here with you. That's so nice that you feel that about me, but like you haven't earned that. So it's definitely
Yeah.
like if you earn it, like I will melt for you kind of vibe.
Yes, yes. This makes so much sense. So much sense. Well, about love, you've been through a lot. You've been through a lot of loss. You're first, and I know all the lesbians listening, guys, give us a chance. We're gonna talk about boys today because Lauren's into the boys. And I never bring allies on anymore. It's always like super gay women, but I just your story touches me. I know it's gonna touch everybody else. You were in love with Jeff since you were 16, was that right?
Yeah, we met when I was 16 and we became very close friends at 16. I was still a virgin then, and he was not trying to take my virginity at that time. So we
Yeah.
didn't date until I was about, I guess, like 19, 20 years old. But we were really close starting at 16. He was my ride or die for a really long time, literally, ride or die.
And you literally you were in a relationship on and off with him. So I was reading your book, and I've only gotten to read snippets, but guys, it's amazing. It's so good. We're gonna talk about it, but it's like literally Sex in the City meets chakra healing magic. I don't even know, and I'm not just saying that. Like this morning, I called one of my friends, and I was like, "The book's really good." And you know, I don't like to read. Like, I only listen to self help, leadership, like these things, like studying psychology, those sort of things. So for me to take time to even read the chapters that you sent my way, everyone's like, "What?" And I'm like, "No, it's like that good. It's so good. It makes me feel like you get me even though it's not gay, and I don't know how that's possible, but yeah." So when I was reading about the loss of Jeff, I kept thinking, "Okay, I know I'm going to get more when I read the whole book. Like I'm going to get the whole details." But you've known him since you were younger, but he was so important to you when he passed away at you were 32. You were my
I was
age.
32. Yeah.
Okay, so what was that like from 16 to 32? Because that's a long
Yeah, so
relationship.
So 16, we met. I was still in high school. He was 19. When I was 16, he was already in college. And we met totally by chance. But like I had seen him back when I was a freshman in high school. He was a senior. And I remember being like, oh, like that boy is really cute, but like he's a senior. Like, what am I, like never
Yeah.
happened. And years later, I was having a few friends over to my house, and one friend decided to invite like the whole grade. And my mom was like, absolutely not. Everyone out. So on Long Island, where I grew up, like if an open house got ended, we would all roll up to the diner. So we rolled up to the diner, and the diner was like, absolutely not, and sent us all on our way. And my good friend Matt said to me, oh, go get in that white Jeep. I know who's driving it. It was this guy. John was driving the car. And I got in the car, and Jeff was in the front seat.
Mm.
And I was like, oh my God, that's the guy that I thought was so cute those years ago. And from that moment on, we created a friendship. And from that moment on, I also started spiraling into trying drugs and trying to impress people and being different than like the girl that I was. I was 16 and I wanted to rebel a little. So we became really good friends. At that point, he actually introduced me later on to the man I ended up losing my virginity to, which I talk about in the book. And I would hook him up with my friends that he would make out with also. So it was cool. We had this friendship. We stayed in touch. I went off to college. We would hang out when I came home. And then ultimately our bond became so much deeper. And
Mm.
this summer, going into my senior year of college, we started dating. We dated through my senior year, through me moving back to New York, and then living in the city. And ultimately, the only reason we ended up breaking up was he was in the throes of his own journey with addiction. He had had a double hip replacement at a young age due to injuries with sports, and he already liked to party. And he ended up, being giving oxycontins and all the different things that were given, and ultimately he ended up with some addiction issues, and I had to call his parents. I didn't have to, but I chose to do what I thought was right and let his parents know that I thought they needed to get him help. So ultimately we ended up breaking up. He went into recovery for on and off for like a few years between being in recovery and then not living in New York anymore. And he wouldn't speak to me for probably a period of 2 to 3 years. And then
Wow.
we came back together. We reconnected. He was living in Florida. I came down to visit my grandparents, and we saw each other, and it was the same because our connection, what I understand now, and of course in his passing, was our connection was bigger than like, oh, that's a cute boy that I recognized. It was, I recognize your soul.
Mm.
I feel this connection to you that's so much deeper than anything I've ever experienced before because we knew each other in other lifetimes before. And I believe we contracted this meeting in this lifetime to both have the experiences we were meant to have here. So we, started hanging out again. Eventually he moved up north to Connecticut. He would come into the city and have dinner with me. We would hook up again on occasion. And within like the last year before he passed away, there were a few moments where he would both tell me like, I hate you because I'm still alive because of you. And that really broke my heart because I didn't understand why he didn't want to be alive. Of course, I've gone on my journey and I understand it a lot more now. And then he would also waver between like, well, we still love each other so much, like maybe we should just have kids. Um, so there was just so much passion and energy between us. And there were days where it was really good. And there were days where I jumped out of the car and was like, get the fuck away from me. So it was one
Oh.
of those really tumultuous, deeply karmic relationships that I chose to really live through and experience. And the 2 weeks before he passed, it was Father's Day. My dad happened to be out of town for business. So I spent the weekend. We went out to dinner the night before. My sister joined us, and the friend who ultimately found him after he passed also was at dinner with us. And he told my sister like the most embarrassing stories of things that had happened between us that were more embarrassing for him. And I was like, why are you telling my sister these things? Like, it's so embarrassing. And I later learned that the soul starts saying goodbye 2 weeks before it passes. So, we had this dinner with my sister where these stories I never had told anyone, and now her and I can still laugh about them, and they weren't left just for me when he left. He wanted me to be able
Yeah.
to have those with her. And the day of Father's Day, I spent with him and his family, his mom, dad, sister, brother-in-law, his grandmother, who I've had a very close relationship to, and she's still here. His aunt and uncle, I had taken trips with them. So I got to have this beautiful last day with his family, and it ended up being the last day all of us saw him alive.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I cannot imagine having so much love for somebody that the relationship lasts one that long, even though it's tumultuous. And I think I didn't really understand anything about like accepting toxic things or not, or karmic relationships until like even this year, like being like, no, that's not okay. So it makes sense that it all happened like when you're 32.
And it was
Wow.
just like 3 weeks before I was turning 33. So I was coming out of my Saturn return, going into my Jesus year. And my life was so different at the time. Like I thought like, oh, like I live in New York City, like I've got it all figured out. Like my life is great. And then his death, like everything came crashing down because I let it.
What is Jesus year? I want to know.
Well, 33, because that's when Jesus was resurrected.
Okay, so but does it mean something like good for you in your life, like the end of the Saturn return? Does it mean
Well, it's
crucifixion?
the end of the Saturn return. And I don't know, for me, it was like such a pivotal year because Jeff died right before I turned 33. And then 6 months later, I left New York and moved to LA. And in that time, I found Reiki, went on like my deep spiritual awakening journey. So it was like I was reborn at
Yeah.
33 into this new version of myself, which, has continued. How many rebirths have I had since then? Like, can't even count.
Yeah, no. Okay, that makes so much sense. So much sense. Okay, so you go on to have like this spiritual journey. My favorite parts of the book that I've gotten to read so far was your messy dating life. Like it was just wild. And I relate so hard because as a lesbian, I didn't understand for the longest time that I just saw men as like, oh, they can do this for me and that's why they exist. So I was into like trying to have men just buy me dinners, buy me dinners, buy me dinners. I went on the Yellow app one time and like for 3 straight months had breakfast, lunch, dinner, like dates lined up. I would even go to LA and like have dates stacked and then hang out with my friends. Like it was insane. So yeah, I can admit that that's been a part of my life. And a lot of people listening know, but I was the face of like an arrangement relationship style platform for a long time. And I'm not shy about that because it definitely helped me venture into like the dating world and got me out there. So I'm so grateful for what that did for my career. But people have like this bad taste in their mouth for an arrangement style dating situation. And you blatantly talk about it in your book. So, like, let's go there. Tell us about the messy dating scene and like dating for money and how this like came out after you lost Jeff. Because I'm sure Jeff, it had nothing to do with what this man could give you because he obviously wasn't giving you like the world.
No, it's definitely not giving me the world at all. And it's funny because like when I found you, it was because of those posts that you were sharing. So to me, your authenticity and your vulnerability and being so like, whatever, who the fuck cares? This is my story. Ultimately, also gave me permission to continue to be so authentic and tell my story.
Oh,
So thank you.
thank
Um,
you for saying that.
yeah, and especially like seeing where it led you, right? Because it's like I don't want to shame any part of my past or deny it happened because it's ultimately what led me here. So sure, my parents when they read that chapter might be a little like, oh, okay. But like it is what it is, and it doesn't change who I am at a core soul level. I was
Yeah.
simply trying to find myself because I was so lost. So
Mm.
I had moved out to LA 6 months after Jeff passed. At the time, prior to moving to LA, I was working as a private chef in New York. I had a meal delivery service. I was like, okay, this is it. I'm ready to get to the next level, was taking it to the next level. He passed away, and I was like, what the fuck is the point of life? I don't know anymore, was guided to learn Reiki, moved out to LA and thought like, okay, I'll be a cannabis chef in LA. That will be like the next thing that I do because I'd been offered some gigs doing cannabis things in LA. So I was like, okay, this is it. It's going to be great. And I got there and was like, how am I supposed to pay my bills? Like,
I
what am I
know.
supposed to do? I don't know anyone in LA. Like, sure, I got some opportunities, but like, what am I doing? And I knew that I couldn't date. Like I knew that I couldn't actually date. I knew that like I was very much broken and
Mm.
shattered and not broken like oh I'm broken but like I was heartbroken. And prior to Jeff's death, I also share in the book, I don't know if you read that chapter because it's a few parts, but I had an ex-boyfriend arrested in my home. So
Yeah.
he was arrested. I had found Kundalini and then Jeff died, and I was just like, I'm done. Like I'm done with dating. I don't know what to even do anymore. I don't know. So I found myself going on this arrangement website that, and like this was like back when like things weren't apps. Like I like literally was like on the World Wide Web, like typing
Yeah.
shit in. I was like, okay. Well, like, what if I just like find an arrangement? Like, wouldn't it be great if like some man just footed the bill for me to live and exist? And sadly, that never happened. But I did go on 2 dates with two different men, and I talk about them a bit in the book. Ultimately, it was incorrect. On both dates, I was like, this is not correct. This doesn't resonate for me. So I ultimately I signed off of the website, but then I got a text. I got a DM, not a text. I got a
Oh
DM
my God.
from a man from my past whose name I do not use in the book. I use a lot of pseudonames to protect identity. But he had reached out to me. I knew him in my college years. He was a married man and said, just in the DM, like, hey, are you into married men? And I was like, what?
That is
Like,
such a wild thing to ask somebody.
yeah, it was something along those lines. And I was just like, what? Like, and then the panic set in. Oh my God, he knows.
Oh,
He
like
knows
he saw
I
your
was on the
profile or
website.
something.
He saw my profile. Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. Like, why would I have logged into this site? And then I was like, wait. If he saw it, it's because he's on this
Yeah.
website. So I followed up like, or no, he didn't ask me if I was into married men. He said, "Are you into women?" And I
Oh.
said, "Because he's married." And I was like, "Why are you and your wife looking to meet someone?" And he was like, "No, I was just curious." And he shared that we had seen each other once since I moved to LA by chance, at an event. And he was like, "I haven't been able to stop thinking about you since I saw you." And he asked me if I was willing to get together to have a conversation, and shared that his marriage was open in terms of the fact that he couldn't have any emotional relationships with women, but he could have an arrangement.
Oh my Lord.
And I
I do you
thought,
think this happened because you like put it out into the universe, like the vibe?
For sure.
Yeah,
For
because this is
sure.
insane. And I would be like offended, but also I get that like you were in a vulnerable place, your heart was broken, you knew you couldn't like give someone love. So maybe it seemed like,
It just seemed like, okay, well, I can't love someone. So if someone's seeking this arrangement, great. So I never went into it like looking for someone that was married, like by
yeah.
any means. Like my parents, today's actually their 47th wedding anniversary. So
Oh,
I grew up very much like in a traditional household with very strong morals and values as it came to relationships. And again, I was really in this vulnerable space. So when I went on the arrangement website, I wasn't looking to be with a married man. I was just looking for a man that could pay my rent,
right, right.
buy me some things, whatever. Like I was just like, other people do this, why not me?
We love
Uh,
a daddy. If a man's got to exist, at least in my world, we need. Yeah. Although I think the world thinks I had a sugar daddy. For the record, there was no sugar in that daddy. It was just daddy, no sugar. Okay, and not
yeah, and
daddy in the
right. So like
sexual
me, and
sense.
maybe you had hoped like, well, I'd like more sugar.
Oh yeah, I surely hoped getting with an older man that like he would have done a little better, but we won't go there. You know,
Yeah, like and it all served a purpose in some
it
regards.
did.
So I agreed to meet him, and he shared with me about the arrangement him and his wife had. And listen, I wasn't going to call his wife and be like, "So your husband told me that he can be sexual with me, but not emotional with me." I simply just trusted what he shared with me, and I thought about it. I took some time to think about it, and ultimately, I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Like if this is your path that you and your wife have in your arrangement and you want to have some sort of arrangement with me, like what could that arrangement be? Well, I'll tell
But
you this.
could you be capable of
Well, yeah, I felt like
not
I
having
could
emotion?
because I knew I didn't have the space to actually really be with someone. And he
Yeah.
wasn't looking to actually be with me. And he was looking for some sort of arrangement. So I kind of was like, okay, like, is he gonna like pay some of my bills? Like, what does that look
Did
like?
he?
No,
I'm like they
no.
never do. They
Um,
just they just God
he,
bless.
he did not pay my bills, but I used to be a very big cannabis user, and he is in the cannabis industry and has a
Gotcha.
really great brand. I'm not going to say more than that. And he was able to provide me with the highest grade medical level
I'm
cannabis.
glad you got what you needed out of this because I know shit's about to hit the fan. Okay, guys, I've read the chapter.
So I was able to receive medication from him, right? From medicated to meditated is the book after all, right? So
Yes.
um the thing was he was also a Cancer and I'm a Cancer. And the two of us together, when we were together, whether or not it was meant to be emotional, it was like just water, like merging, like, oh my God, like two fucking rivers just like swimming in each other's energy. And he reminded me a lot of Jeff in ways in ways that were both really positive and really fucking negative. He had his own journey with his family history, with addiction. He had dealt with death in his own way on his journey. So there was a lot that we understood about each other that perhaps we couldn't talk to other people about. So
Yeah.
our relationship became a little entangled in emotion because there was such deep love. Like I would say right now, like I love this man. Like I don't love him. I'm not seeking him out, but like I love him more so. I love his soul. And I'm so grateful that he did show up in my life because ultimately there came a time where I was like, this isn't correct for me anymore because I do want more. And I got to that point
Yeah.
where I knew like I needed more and he couldn't give that to me. And I had to like say that to him. And I knew
Yeah.
that. spending time with him was like walking blindfolded through a forest, which
That
was
line rattled me. I was like, oh my God. So tell everyone what you told him to like
so
end it.
he came over and we had a nice smoke session, and I turned to him and just looked at him. I was like, spending time with you is like walking through a forest blindfolded, and I can't do this anymore. And he didn't even respond because he knew exactly what I meant. Like we were so deeply connected on a soul level that he knew. And I thought that that would be the last time we saw one another, but it wasn't. It ended up taking some time to unravel. Even like when I moved to Florida, he introduced me to a friend before I moved here. And I don't write about this in my book. He introduced me to a friend here in Miami to hook me up with weed. I was coming for a job for 2 weeks. And I met up with his friend, got cannabis. He called me like, I bet you guys marry each other and it'll be so great because I'll still be able to fuck you when you're married to him. And like he was like, we could go on trips like as couples. And I was like, oh my God, like this is not my reality. This
Not
is
healthy.
not what
That's
I
like,
want.
I can't imagine. Okay, so at this point, his wife does not know. This is not, he made this up, right?
I don't believe he did. I don't know the level though. I do believe he did have other relationships 100%. I do think most of those were more transactional. Um, at some point, I do believe she questioned me, and if there was some sort of relationship with us, because that's what I heard through his friend.
Oh my God. What's going to happen when he reads this book?
I don't know that he will.
Let's hope he does
Um,
not.
We haven't been in touch since the pandemic. That friend that he had introduced me to told me during the pandemic, and I have zero relationship with that man either. That's a whole other story.
Okay, good.
Um, but he let me know that this man had some psychedelic mushrooms during the pandemic and thought that I think he thought he like this is it. Like I guess he had a really bad trip and confessed all of his relationships to his wife. And the one she was most upset about was me. I don't know why that is. I'm not really sure. And after that, like he disappeared on social media. All of his accounts were gone. Like he obviously blocked me and all of that. And I know it's for the best. And I genuinely like I'm not I didn't tell this story for her to find out or for him to read it. I told it because I get to release my shame
Yes.
and my part in it. And also like it's okay. Like I get to be okay with it, and I know like there's been karma attached to it, and I know
Yeah.
what I did ultimately, like who knows what it created. And it's been a journey that I've gone on, and ultimately I love and accept myself for who I am. I love and
So
accept
good.
myself for who I am. And I was in a place where I was really vulnerable. And I would never say he took advantage of that vulnerability. I would never say that. I will just say I was vulnerable. And it was what I was seeking at that time because of the space that I was in.
I you're the second person to come on the show and have this like confession about like not necessarily infidelity for you, but like being a part of something like that. And I think what's really interesting, at least in my experience, talking to lesbians, like we go on the retreats, we tell each other our deepest, darkest secrets, okay? And all of us, most of us who have come out later in life, have settled for a relationship with a married woman whose husband gives her permission to explore, and then it turns into an emotional thing, and then you're trapped. And I have never really talked about it on social media, but I had been involved with something where you're like stuck and you're in love with somebody who's not choosing you. And that was one of my first ever experiences with the woman, and it nearly killed me. Like it's when all my autoimmune issues came out, and I really lost myself. And there's something about having these conversations that help unpack the shame, because you feel terrible. Even if that person, like, say that wife had given you permission, right? Like, to your face. At the end of the day, I'm just such a monogamy girly, especially if you're going through something like that, right? Like, I'm like, you're mine. That's it. Queer Country Club, my lesbian dating platform. Like, if you're a lesbian who's monogamous, it's for you. If you're not, sorry, go find it somewhere else. I want all people listening to know that, like, even if you've gone through something like this, you're still worthy of the purest love. And, like, don't worry about, like you said, like, the karma. Like, I know there's karma. Like, I feel that too. Like, I was cheated on. I was hurt after that situationship. And I felt like, well, then that's my karma, whatever. But at the end of the day, I genuinely love that person. Just like you're talking, you're like, I really genuinely love that person. And at that point, your souls are like, there was something that needed to happen. Like, there had to be something.
1,000%.
Yes. Like, it's just a part of your journey, and it had to happen. And for me, it had to happen to make me so wholeheartedly ready for a serious relationship. And without that, I wouldn't be so passionate about monogamy, which is literally the foundation of my platform. So it all happens for a reason. And I want to encourage everyone listening, if you're in a situationship like that and you're trying to find love, to really let it go, because to be worthy of wholeheartedness, you've got to, like, open yourself up fully and be ready for someone who can give you their full heart, and you're worthy of someone who is ready for you and ready to be wholly yours. Like, they're not questioning it. They're not questioning their sexuality. They're not questioning if they want to stay. And it's like, your soulmate won't come to you married to somebody. Like, your karmic trauma will, but not like your forever life partner. Okay. Like, as much as I can look back and be like, I loved her more than anything. Yeah, I did. Just like I could see it in your face. It's like, I actually really love this person. People be like, oh no, you were just obsessed with the toxic. No, I genuinely loved her more than words could explain. And yeah, I mean, even to this day, if I see her, my soul will leave my body. So I can't see her. I don't go places where she will be. And it hurts and it's sad. But at the end of the day, it had to happen. And it had to happen for you. So what was the biggest lesson coming out of that for you? And how did you actually break it off? Because that was hard for
Well,
me for
so
a
it,
long
it
time.
ultimately it ended after we saw each other in New York. By chance, we both lived in LA and we were both in New York. And I ended up meeting up with him, and I felt really bad about it. I felt really bad. It was the first time I felt bad about it, because I already had said, like, I need to get out of this dark forest, and then was still like tiptoeing back into it, because right, like, when something's comfortable, when something feels good, we just want to keep feeling it. It was like the pacifier, right? I'm like, oh, but like, maybe I can hold on to this a little longer, maybe just a little longer. And ultimately, it was after seeing him in New York on that trip. I left 2 days later to go to Spain. And I spoke to him a few times when I was in Spain. And I was just like, I can't do this to myself anymore. And through that trip, I actually ended up being like, what the fuck am I doing? I've moved to Miami. I'm not even living in LA anymore. Why am I still in connection with this man? Like, I've really got to let it go. And ultimately, I found self-love for myself and I found healing. And after I got home from that trip to Spain, that's when I started recording my Glow Up Your Chakras sound healing program. I recorded 14 sound healings over like a 3-week period, and would sit and listen to them over and over and over and over again, clearing my own chakras, activating my chakras, really taking time to be my own client. And then that ultimately led me to creating my first live coaching program. It was originally called The Guru and You, and I ultimately changed it to Glow Up Your Chakras. And
Wow.
from there, I went on to build my business. So I turned all of the energy I was pouring into that, and all of the things that weren't actually building me up, because there were other men I was like pouring into in business and all different things. And I was like, I'm taking it all back. I'm taking
Yeah.
all of my power back. I'm not fucking giving it all to you anymore because I was helping people with business. I was doing so much. And I know you can relate to that. And it's
Yes.
like, I'm taking it all back and I'm building my life now. And
Yeah.
that's ultimately what happened. And he would reach out on occasion. But again, like I shared during the pandemic, that was like, I never heard from him after that again, after his, I guess, journey with psychedelics.
Oh my gosh, the one
And
time that drugs
I
could be
did
useful.
see he was.
Okay, real quick, I need to tell you about Wisp, an online healthcare service that is for the girls, gays, theys, and me. In fact, for 3 years, they have been a part of my daily regimen. I know many of you listening long to create beautiful, women loving women relationships. And that, my dears, begins with excellent kitty care. Like, no offense, I don't know about you, but I personally don't want to be at a kitty cat cafe, if you know what I mean, that doesn't provide the freshest dessert for me to lick. So do unto others as you'd have them do unto you, and keep your kitty cat cafe fresh. With Wisp, everything from the consult to receiving meds is done from the comfort of your phone, and the company is proud of being inclusive, cost effective, and accessible for everyone. Wisp believes that you know your body better than anyone else, which means no more urgent care visits for issues such as UTIs, yeast infections, or STI treatment. You can save so much time not going to in person appointments or waiting in line at pharmacies. The free shipping will save you so much time. Or same day pharmacy pickup can have you feeling better faster. Before Wisp, I was prone to getting BV, but my kitty pH balance stays perfect. Chef's kiss now that I am on a consistent probiotic regimen. Ladies, this is so important. Personally, I subscribe monthly to Wisp probiotics, Sexy Time Lube, and OMG cream. It's like female Viagra. I also get D-mannose and boric acid vaginal suppositories as needed, so I'm prepared if something starts to fill off down there. Also, if you're about to meet a new partner from my lesbian dating platform, you definitely want to be tested before sleeping with someone new. You can order discreet online testing from your bed before you jump into bed. Go to the link in the show notes to learn more, or go to hellowisp.com and use my code SOPHIA for 15% off. That's code SOPHIA, SOPHIA, for 15% off all your kitty needs. You're welcome. Okay, back to the show.
Was in Miami, and like I know he comes to Miami, but I saw he was somewhere that I go on occasion, having an event for his company. Thankfully, I was not there that night. He was there with his wife. We've never bumped into each other. Sometimes I'm like, "Oh shit, is that him?" And I'm like, "No, no, no. Like PTSD, like you're good." Because I wouldn't want to see him again. Kind of similar. Um, I just know how much like intensity there was, and it wouldn't serve either of us to see one another at this point in our lives. Like I've moved on. I'm sure he's moved on. I've got nothing but love, but like we don't need to cross paths again in this
I
lifetime.
I get it. I feel the same way. I get it. I'm sure someone else listening is like, "Yep, know what that feels like." Okay, so as if that wasn't enough, you added a story in the book "Glow Up Your Chakras" about the yellow app guy. We'll just call it yellow app. Everyone knows what it is. But yeah. So that story especially touched me because I dealt with body dysmorphia like in my early 20s, really, really bad. And now I really love myself. It was kind of weird. I just had a day where like I was like, "Oh God, we're not gonna ever not love ourselves." Actually, it took getting really sick and losing a lot of weight and becoming quote unquote my goal weight, and then looking in the mirror and being like, "Oh shit, at my goal weight, I have no ass. My boobs sink down to my belly button. Like my face looks like is the word gaunt." Like I was like, I don't want to be that goal weight. So it took me like getting sick to love myself. And so when I was reading that, I was just, whoa. So I don't know if you want to like share or read the messages or whatever, but
Yeah, let me.
it's a good story.
I'll read it. I have the book right here.
Yes. Show everyone
Okay.
the cover because they can watch this on Spotify and YouTube. It's so
So this is
beautiful.
it's not available yet for release. It's out May 2nd, so this says not for release. This is not actually a part of the cover. It's just my proof copy.
But what's
Uh,
really cool is it's like all the crystals mixed with like pills, like to make
yeah.
up your chakras.
And
Like,
then the back also, it's like from medicated to meditated, all the crystals in the container, which obviously relates to chapter one, but we'll
I
save that
love it.
for people
Are
to.
you smoking these days, or is that something you've
No,
completely?
not right now, especially like while I'm promoting the book and just taking care of myself. I'm also getting ready. Early May, I'm doing a Kundalini yoga prenatal teacher training. So I like to be
Ooh.
really clear when I go into trainings. And then I'm having a tongue tie release surgery. So I'm just like really focused on I dealt with a lot of pain, and obviously, I talk about this in the book, and being medicated for 10 years of my life. So now that I've been diagnosed with a tongue tie and we figured out the root of the pain, I I want to feel it as I let
Yeah.
it leave, which is like which is so me that I'm like, I want to feel it all. That's so my like human design 3-5 to be like, let me feel it all. So no, I'm definitely just kind of I wouldn't use the term sober now. I definitely had a cocktail last weekend and like 2 weeks ago, girlfriend, she's like, I know you're not smoking now. We were out for a walk. She's like, but do you want to hit this joint? And I checked in with my intuition. It was like, yeah, have 2 hits. Like you don't need to be so rigid, but like I don't have any cannabis at this moment, which is like, oh, miss you, love you. Yeah, see ya again, maybe sometime whenever it's aligned. So my
I love
relationship
that it works for some people. For me, it just gives me anxiety, like so bad. So I don't, but
Now it's very different for me because I was using it for so long to deal with pain and manage pain. Um, that it's like rewiring that relationship to it can be a tool that I use or like something that like if I just want to like laugh with a girlfriend and like have a
yeah.
funny day, that's more where I'm inviting it into my life as opposed to numbing out or using it to deal with pain or using it to not deal with reality.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a beautiful journey to say the least.
I
Okay, let
love
me
that you're sharing. It's been a conversation we have inside of Queer Country Club because some women are like, I need to date someone who smokes like that. And I'm very much adamant against cigarette smoke. But I'm like, I don't care what anyone else does. I just know it doesn't really work for me. But it's interesting to see because we talk about preferences so much that it's super important to some people and it's super important to others that they have someone who completely doesn't smoke.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I definitely have questioned it for myself because of my own journey. And back in December, I dated someone briefly who is very much in recovery, very much sober, told me all his stories. And it was like someone I was totally meant to meet. He's a trauma therapist. And through that experience, like which was short-lived, I realized I don't want to date someone that is in recovery
No.
like like even if you've been in recovery X amount of years, I can't go down that path again.
Right, because you've been through it's different for other people. This is a soft spot for you.
Yeah. So I'm like, as long as you have a healthy relationship with substances, that's all. That's really all I care about.
Yeah.
All right.
No,
Oh,
I definitely want to date someone who enjoys going have a cocktail. I'm like, a martini and oysters is my favorite thing.
yes, it is a love language. I am
Yeah.
such a martini and oysters girl. Like, and I talk about in the book how like oysters and a glass of wine was my last drink before I got sober for 5 years.
Ah.
Because my mediumship was just coming on so strong and I was questioning, am I an alcoholic? Like, why do I black out? What's happening? But now like I love me a glass of crisp white wine. I was gonna say like on a warm summer day, but I live in Miami, so like every day is a warm summer day. I'm like, I might have to go get oysters and a glass of wine after this to
Oh my
celebrate.
gosh, it sounds so good. It sounds so good. I just went to Miami and sat at this place on the water and had oysters and the martini, and it was like icy cold. It was just so good. Anyway, okay.
So good. All right,
Let's hear a man food shame and weight shame and trigger warning if you go through any sort of eating or body dysmorphia stuff. But this was healing for me to hear your response, which is why I want you to read this.
all right. So It was May of 2024, and I felt this intuitive nudge to download the yellow dating app. Within an hour of being on the app, I had a new match, and something told me I needed to connect with him. On this app, women have to send messages first. So I did just that by asking him, "What is something I wouldn't know about you based on your profile?" I can't quite recall what he told me because what that wasn't the important part. It was the conversation that followed. After responding, this man followed up with the same question for me, and I shared with him that I am a chef, which I do not advertise on dating sites. It's one of my hidden talents I get to reveal if I feel so inclined, and in that moment I did. He asked me what I like to cook, and I shared with him a meal I had made for friends over the weekend, which consisted of savory roasted chicken thighs with fennel and endive, along with an arugula salad with fresh herbs and balsamic dressing, and roasted carrots drizzled with fragrant truffle oil, feta, and parsley. That recipe is in section 3 of the book. You're welcome. It was
I
a
can
vibe.
smell it.
After sharing that, this is where it got good. I'll share the play-by-play. Let's call him E. E. Are you fat? I would be, LOL. Thankfully, all of my cooking is extremely basic. Me. No, I'm not. E. Phew. Me neither. Me. My photos are actually me. E. Yay. Photos are deceptive sometimes. Are you under 130 pounds? Yup. He actually wrote those words. Now, remember how earlier I shared with you how I used to ridicule myself if I wasn't 135 pounds? Okay, it gets better. Let's continue. Me. No, I'm not, nor would I want to be at my height. I'm 5'7" for inquisitive minds. Me. Are you fat phobic? E. Yes. Admittedly, I am. To which I replied, interesting. Though what I was thinking was wow, while also taking a deep breath to understand why I felt called to have this conversation with this man. E. I prefer fit girls. Is it interesting or unusual? To which I said, interesting that you asked a specific weight. The conversation continued with him sharing gems like, my ex was 115 pounds, then 170 pregnant, and lost all the weight. It's not hard to lose weight, just eat less. And even went on to say, but I feel people are too fat nowadays. Girls aren't trying to be thin and fit. He continued on saying, it's kind of interesting. I grew up attracted to Sports Illustrated swimsuit models and Victoria's Secret girls. That was every boy's fantasy. That was it. This was my moment. My moment to stand up for myself, to transmute my fears of not being thin enough, attractive enough, or worthy enough by just being me. The intuitive hit I felt when I messaged him wasn't about going on a date. It was about having a mirror reflect back to me an old, ugly self-hatred version of myself. So I responded by simply saying, are you still a boy or have you grown into a man? To which he said, I think I'm still a boy when it comes to that. It was at that moment a part of me was set free. That insecure, not attractive or worthy enough part of me was no longer me. That was the little girl who grew up with Victoria's Secret and Sports Illustrated swimsuit models. And unlike E, I decided to evolve from girl to woman. I ended the conversation shortly after, letting him know I was a chef, health coach, and author. I appreciated the reflection and conversation and would be sure to share it with others. Why? Because you need to remember that your insecurities will show up so you can look them in the eyes and defeat them. In that conversation, I was able to slay my own dragon and find both empathy and love for this 45-year-old boy man who had yet to grow up and was still living in his childhood fantasies. I know what it's like to live in fantasy. I was stuck there for some time. Can you relate? It was in this conversation that I further found and strengthened my voice, love, and devotion to myself. Once upon a time, this conversation would have rocked me and sent me down a shame spiral. But on this day, I ended the conversation and popped into Trader Joe's to grab some groceries.
Oh, it's so good. Like get angel bumps and oh, thank you for sharing that.
Oh, I haven't read that one out loud. So, wow. It feels so good to just like, even as I share it, right? I get to transmute it further. And I know as other people read it, they're going to feel it and it's going to release them from their own demons and their own shit.
100%, especially like the women listening who are dating, actively dating and feeling insecure in their body, and just knowing like if someone doesn't like you for who you are, let them go. Like, bye. Like, we're looking for alignment. We're looking for someone who doesn't care about just the superficial. I mean, that's like the way you came back at him so peacefully and sovereignly. Like, are you still, what did you say, are you still a boy?
Yeah. Or
That's
have you grown
so
into a man?
that's so good. And I'm sure it gave him a moment to self-reflect. Now, I don't know if this is the kind of person who can change at this point, right? Like, this is a man who's a boy. But just maybe it's a moment for all of us. It's a moment for all of us to self-reflect and go, in the ways that we're a little harsh on preferences, maybe it's not this, maybe it's something else. Because as a woman, I think we all appreciate a little something to grab onto, okay? But maybe in other ways, we have preferences that are extremely harsh and we put up walls. And is that a girl thing to do or is that a woman thing to do? And boundaries can be a woman thing to do or it could be a little girl thing to do. And I think that that's a really great question to ask. So thank you. Thank you
Oh,
so
thank
much.
you. Yeah, you're so welcome. I mean, I remember finishing that conversation and I was like about to delete it. And I was like, no, 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 no. Screenshot this.
Yeah.
This is for your book. And I screenshot it and was like, okay. And then I literally deleted the app after because I'll get these inner knowings to download the app and I'll meet the person I'm supposed to meet, like the man I had met in December
Yeah.
immediately knew this is the person I'm supposed to meet. I got the correct signs. We had this nice little time together. And then when it was done, it was done. And I knew like
Yeah.
you showed up for a reason, not a season, not a lifetime, a reason. And I now approach dating from that perspective because I used to be like, oh my God, is this my lifetime? Is this my person? And it's like, sweetie, calm the fuck down.
Yeah.
Let them be a reason before you're letting them move into your fucking house that you work to
Mhm.
build. Like, why are you just inviting someone in? And I know you always say lesbians move a lot quicker, but
Yeah.
I want to remind you, like, before you move so quickly, and I think moving quickly is totally like okay, like when you know, I believe that. And ask yourself, what is the reason this person is showing up first
Yeah.
before being like,
Yeah.
we're married.
No, I think we all have intentions, at least in Queer Country Club, we all have intentions of wanting to find the forever person. That's what we want. But at the end of the day, you have to date someone. And it's okay to date someone and realize they're not the one for you. I mean, we try to make things easier with some AI matching compatibility.
Of course.
Sapphic Sophie, the matchmaker, asks you lots of questions and make sure that she's aligning you. But still, dating is a way to figure out what you don't want, a way to figure out the lessons. And the sooner you can realize the lesson and walk away from it, I like to say, like, you graduated to your next level. If life's a video game, if it would have taken, like, for me, it took me like a year in a toxic relationship before I knew something was off to go. And then I got it down to 6 months. And then I got it down to 3 months. And I'm like, okay, I got this.
Yeah, and I think that's so important because ultimately, everyone we date is bringing us closer to ourselves and to our
Yeah.
authenticity. So it's like if like it's so easy to be like, "Oh my God, I can't believe it didn't work out," and like go into the woe is me, but it's like, "Oh my God, what a
Yeah.
gift. What a gift that I got to meet this person who brought me closer to my divine partner." Like, yeah,
Yeah.
it sucks and it hurts at times, but it's also like, what a gift. What a gift.
Mm.
Like, this is such a beautiful lesson and journey.
I love how you knew and you were like, I'm screenshotting this for my book. When did you know you were going to write this?
Well, it started off as a chakra healing cookbook, like maybe 8 years ago. And I had it drafted in my files, but I wasn't getting to it. And God kept kind of like poking me, like, hey, you need to work on your book. But I was like, oh, no, no, no. Like, I'm over here building my 6-figure coaching business. Like,
That's
I'm
what I was
recording
working.
sound healings. Like, I am booked and busy. I don't have time for this book. And then 3 years ago, my grandmother passed away. And I've been
Mm.
reflecting a lot on this. When Jeff died, and when 2 years after Jeff died, my best friend from kindergarten, she passed. And in both of their passings, I found spirituality. I found God. I found source. I found this other world that was so different that I didn't dive so deeply into grief because I was experiencing something so different. So fast forward when my grandmother passed 3 years ago, like my world shattered. I lived 45 minutes here in Miami from my grandmother. I would see her all the time. And we just had a very special relationship. And when she crossed over, I started having these deep inner knowings. You need to slow down. You are on your way to burnout. This was not the point of this. You need to slow down. So when client contracts came to an end, I didn't allow them to renew. When my groups were finished, I didn't create new ones. When my Reiki trainings were done off my calendar, I didn't put any more on. And I was like in full surrender, like God, like how am I going to pay my bills? Like I got a mortgage to pay now. Like what am I doing? And I
Yeah.
just kept hearing, you need to heal and you need to write your book. And I reached out to a mentor I had worked with, ended up spending some time doing some one-on-one work with him, and then went to Romania to do another training with him and in the work that I studied with him, which is called True Body Intelligence. And then from there, I went to Egypt. And at that point, like my heart cracked wide open and it was like I was bleeding out. It was like I'm just letting it all go. Like I thought I was broken before, but like I didn't even know what was possible because my grandmother's death while Jeff and Ashley's passings took me into my crown chakra and into this new universe, my grandmother's passing brought me down to earth and it
Mm.
grounded me and it took me into my roots to really look at where was I disconnected. And I went on a deep journey to reconnect with my inner child over these last 3 years because I realized, you know, they talk in therapy little t big T, little trauma big trauma. So often when someone has a childhood trauma, people want to associate it with like well then you were sexually assaulted, who hurt you when you were a child, right? And those things are very real. And when people would present that to me as maybe what happened to me, like it never felt correct, it never felt aligned, but I knew something happened at my birth. I knew something
Mm.
happened at my birth. I knew I didn't want to come here. I knew there was something that ultimately was incorrect. And that knowing led me to take Kundalini yoga teacher training in 2004 because I had this knowing that I wasn't breathing properly and that it was connected to my birth that I didn't breathe properly. And it turned out now I've learned in this last year that I have a tongue tie, which is typically when you're born, if you're breastfed, which I wasn't, if you don't latch properly, they'll cut the tongue. And I ultimately wasn't breastfed. It wasn't caught that I had a tongue tie. So I grew with that and it affected my nervous system for the rest of my life. It's likely why I ended up having surgeries. Could be why I ended up with ADD because I wasn't getting proper oxygen to my brain because I wasn't breathing properly. It's been this whole big thing that I've been uprooting, but ultimately that's what led me to reopen my book and start writing again.
Mm.
And it changed. I again, like I thought it was just this is my chakra healing cookbook. And it evolved into a chakra healing memoir meets cookbook because there is that section on the chakra chef at the end where I share recipes, how to eat for your chakras, and I talk about it in the chakra sections as well. So it was a journey. I cooked again on a retreat for Julianne Huff's company, Kinergy. I flew up to New York and cooked for a client for a month who was going through her own situation. I was doing sound healing and cooking for her. So writing led me back into the kitchen to cook, which ultimately helped me heal myself. And then
Mm.
it led me to writing these stories. And we store our trauma, we store our grief in our bodies. Like there's that book, The Body Keeps the Score, and it truly does. And I needed
Yeah.
to pull the stress and trauma out of my physical organs. I had to get to the issues that were in my tissues. So I did all of this work. And then ultimately, in doing the work, I was then able to write and further transmute what had once lived inside of me. And I've been saying lately, like, like this book used to live inside of me. Like all of these stories lived inside of me. And now I can just put it on a shelf. And with that, it's like this old timeline that existed before. It gets to live, it gets to have a purpose, it gets to help heal other people. And now, what I've always truly wanted, which is that healthy monogamous relationship, which is a family, which is all of those things. Now I have the space for it, and I'm not going to walk into it as a wounded girl. I get to walk into it as a healed woman.
I feel it. Oh my gosh, like just the angel bumps that, like this whole episode, I've just been sitting here just, so good. Someone else needed to hear that. Like take it and put it on the shelf. And just reading your story, although different from mine, I've never dabbled in drugs. Never, I'm lesbian. I had dated men, but our stories are so different, yet I see myself so much in you and in the things you go through in your book. And I know other women listening have felt the alignment to grab the book, to either work with you or follow you on Instagram. How can they stay in touch with you and get their hands on this book, Lauren?
Yeah, so the book is available May 2nd on Amazon. It's called Glow Up Your Chakras from Medicated to Meditated. You'll also find a link on my website for it. My website is laurencourtneyheals.com, and you can find me on Instagram at I am Lauren Courtney. I take clients whether it's one-on-one work or I have my Glow Up community with 2 live healing calls a month and access to that sound healing program I mentioned, Glow Up Your Chakras, plus glow up your aura, glow up your organs, and glow up your business. Because once we start healing ourselves on these deep levels, it's pretty likely you're also going to start a business that you've been not starting because you were in fear and trapped and afraid to step forward as your most authentic self.
So good. Thank you for being my very special ally friend that got to come on the show.
Thank you for having me. Truly. I mean, I love talking to you because, right, like you are a lesbian and I am a straight woman. And I see so much of myself in your story as well. And I think what it comes down to is we're empathic women.
Yeah.
And there are so many empaths likely listening to this. And I know in your community, in my community, and as empaths, often we struggle because we don't understand our worth and value always because we've been trampled in our own energy and told like we have to be a certain way instead of being intuitive, which is really what we're meant to be.
Yeah, I feel that. I totally feel that. And a lot of the women who find me are empaths because there's like this spiritual component. I totally believe that like God controls the algorithm. And so,
Absolutely.
yeah, they end up here and like we're all like deconstructing and reconstructing and into all of our magical things. It was funny the other day, I was talking to my mom about something and about therapy, and she was like, well, you should go to a therapist who doesn't pull out tarot cards. And I was like, okay, the fact that you just said that shows a lack of respect for like what I do, how I do it, but we'll pause with that. But my therapist is like trauma, like she works with first responders and doesn't pull out tarot cards. Like she's like, it was just like so interesting. Like people see and witness and identify me with being like this really spiritual person, even though that's not like what I put out all the time. And I think that's like somehow it brings all the other empaths together. Like the energy's out there, kind of like you put out with the arrangement website. Then you got that, like the energy's out there, the spiritual energy's out there. So I know there may even be straight women who ended up on this podcast that are like, how did I get here? Like, how did I get here? If you feel led to share what was most impactful with Lauren, please reach out to her. I am Lauren Courtney on Instagram. Share with her and get the book. I would say support my friend, but honestly, this book will support you. And I'm not just saying that. I'm not being paid to say that. Lauren's not only, I mentioned it in the intro, how she's impacted me and came into my life in like the weirdest way. But beyond that, like she's been able to like literally do distance healing with me and pull stuff from my past and tell me things about my childhood that I did not tell anyone before. And so you truly are a gift, and your energy is in these pages. reading them will help you self-reflect and help you on your healing journey. So grab Glow Up Your Chakras and y'all have an amazing day.
Thank you.